Hi guys, just want to share something with you today. I've been still working on the wiring with the 67 Camaro, and I've got all of the dash apart and that sort of thing, and started refurbishing the dashboard items, and that includes the AM radio, and it also includes the air control system within it, and just replacing just normal things such as the dash instrument bezels and anything else that I can just get access to quite easily. So this is quite interesting. What the results from the AM radio. It's always been working, but I actually gave it a tune today. So just fixing up the loading coils and things like that. The situation is that it's sitting here just on my bench working. I couldn't get a standard 67 Camaro single cone speaker, the 6x9. So I ended up having to get a stereo speaker and put that on and set that up. And you can't see it anyway, but I've also got set up on this just a cheap antenna, just a 470 megahertz antenna, versus where the band is actually sitting on with the AM radio is quite low, a low frequency spectrum. This shouldn't actually do any good, but the results are amazing compared to my FM radio in my existing GM car, which is 10 years old. This is actually kicking it and competing in audio quality to what that sounds like. So I'll just give you a bit of a show. Okay, so you know that what the setup is here. I have a Kenwood power supply just there. I've got the power leads going to the AM radio and into the back. And next to this, I have the air system all up and running and refurbished. And the radio is not on at the moment. This is quite interesting. Rebuilt this so that it's all working properly. It looks good. It's ready for another 50 years, I suppose. Okay, so this is the speaker. So it's just a cheap little Chinese speaker, and it goes into the back with my own wiring. And here we go. We'll turn it on. So we're at a bit of both. So there you go. That's quite interesting. That's a genuine GM 1967 AM radio. I picked that up off eBay about 12 years ago, and it was just covered in paint and bird droppings. I got it here to Australia. It cost me just under $100. And when I started it up, it hadn't been used for such a long time. And knowing a bit about electronics, I put it on the workbench outside, and it smoked. The capacitors were leaking. There were various capacitors leaking, oil, and most of them are actually oil filled. So there was just smoke pouring out of the thing for about half an hour, and I thought, well, what the heck? I'll just let it go overnight. And over time, it just burnt itself back into operation. And I put it in the car. It was never fantastic because the car's so loud I can't hear a thing. But in doing this wiring, and pulling the car apart, I got a chance to work on it again and just to have it fully functional. So I'll now give you a bit of a going over as to where I'm at. Okay, so the car's on jacks. It's up in the air. That's the best I can manage at the moment. I don't have the luxury of space here in my house. There we go. I don't want to take it out there. We're heading into winter, so it's quite cold. All right, so what have I done? Well, the first thing I've done is I've routed all the wires down here, out underneath of here. I've put in a new, I've done all of the original RS relays, which are all hidden underneath there. All the wiring is going now under here, back to here, which I haven't completed yet. I've just started putting in the other clip, which is just down here, the other wiring block, and that is the main engine harness, which runs down over here over to the starter. I'm going to use the HEI and all that stuff to drive the lights and provide power elsewhere into the cowl, as I'm running an independent HEI system and NMSD system. That's got to go direct to the battery. So I'm hooking it all back up to standard, all of the lighting system. This is an American Auto wire system, and it's been upgraded in wire size and all that sort of stuff. So where am I at with the inside of the car? Bit of a mess, but I'll take the wide shot. There we go. Everything's out. It's quite a bit of a challenge, and for me, mainly from a physical perspective. But I'm just in the process of starting. I'm going to start putting the stuff back in. And there's all the computer stuff, all of the MSD stuff that I've got there. It's got it through the firewall connection and all of that sort of stuff. So that side of the car remains on a separate loom. This side of the car has all standard wiring. Can you see that? So that's the new fuse panel, new wires. Just taking my time. Okay, so that's my console. Many of you might remember that this console had red sides, and I had painted it to match the car, blah, blah, blah. And that's the roll of vinyl that I've been using to coat down the sides here. Now this has been, I made the decision to try and go back to the standard black. The main reason for that is that the vinyl and the adhesive, it just wasn't sticking because of the heat in the car and the floor, because of the big horsepower of the motor and the size of having 3-inch pipes underneath the car running close to the floor. This just got so hot that whatever stuck to it would just peel off. But my challenge was that the contact adhesive was just so damn hard to get off. But I spent about 2 hours the other night, and I ended up using this stuff. And there used to be a product called Yuck Off and Goo and Glue Remover, and this replaces it. And so I used that, and I also used some straight gas or fuel, which I had a bit of 2-stroke oil in it, and that took the large amount of the product off. And then I've just hit it with some Meguiar's trim detailer, and it's transformed the panel permanently back to the original high luster finish. So that's going to go back into the car. I'm just in the process of doing all the wiring hookup, all that sort of stuff for that. So I'm working on that in my other workbench, which doubles as a laundry. Because I don't have any women here, I can do what I like. Funny about that, isn't it? I don't feel guilty. So that's really where we're at. I thought I'd provide an update to what's happening with the Camaro and all the other stuff. Oh, I don't know if I've shown you this. Obviously Australia is kilometre an hour. This is my new cluster, which I had painted about 10 years ago. And what's in it is a 68 instrument cluster. But look at this. See if you can work out what's going on here. And that's a genuine GM. You can't see the tag now, but that's where the tag was. It's got a new circuit board on the back and all that sort of stuff. But that's a genuine GM kilometre an hour 1968 Camaro instrument cluster. And I think I paid something like, it was over $400 for it. Back when muscle cars were just getting stupid amounts of money in the early part of the millennium. So that's going back in again. That's all good, carpet stuff. And we're ready. Hope you enjoyed that. See you next time.